Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my co-host, Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you?
I can't complain. It's been a nice, nice summer. Can't complain.
You were just complaining to me about...
I know. That's not their problem. I got off my chest.
I won't complain. It's different than I can't complain. You're making.
I refuse to complain about the thing where I was complaining about before.
It's okay. I'll just complain about you not complaining now about the thing you were complaining about before.
I got it off my chest. I feel better.
Guess what, Lance?
Spam?
It's my birthday.
No.
It is.
Did you get what I sent you? The same thing I sent you last year.
Yeah, you complained about something.
Aw, happy birthday.
The amount that I complained when I was complaining when you first got into Boston Brass, you could complain on my birthday every year for the rest of our lives. We might be able to balance that last year.
Well, happy birthday. Are you doing anything fun?
I went to the National Gallery of Art with Nicholas earlier today, and also to the U.S. Botanic Garden, which is open again since the entire U.S. Capitol was closed for like over a year because of knuckleheads. So that was cool. Got there for the first time in like 2 years.
Nice.
And my wife and son are making a cake. So,
ooh, yeah. Fancy. What's your go-to cake?
Well, Nicholas, we've been watching this show on Netflix called Nailed It, which is hilarious. For kids, yes, but even not for kids. It's like they make contestants who are not real bakers. They make like people like you and me attempt really difficult cake desserts. Like, yeah, it's very. So Nicholas has been watching this a lot, and he asked if it was okay if he made me a tangerine cake, like with some tangerine. So I'm like, let's do it, man. So Tiffany's an amazing baker, so we'll see. Speaking of Tiffany, my wife just got elected to the board of directors of the National Band Association. How about that?
Fantastic.
Yeah, she's. I'm moving down in the world. She's moving up. So
there you go.
Which is pretty cool. So
who didn't see that coming?
So
I'm sorry. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Christopher, so much love.
How old are you?
I am 47, which has been my lucky number my whole life. So yeah, I'm significantly closer to 50 than 40. So yeah, which is like say I'm on the back nine. It's like, geez, I'm on like on hole 13 or something. I'm into the back nine. Not on the back nine. Christopher Davis. How enjoyable was this conversation?
That was really funny. He's cool. Yeah.
He's awesome. Yeah, he, as you all are about to hear, he has performed with like a ridiculous long list of, just to list the major orchestras he's played with takes like 45 seconds. And he actually talks about that in the interview. He talks about his ability to listen and kind of adjust on the fly. And then probably my favorite part of the whole interview was when he was talking about approaching subbing with an orchestra as if that chair is yours for the week, and he talked about making statements, not asking questions, which when you've got somebody who has played with the Chicago Symphony and the Cleveland Orchestra and the Detroit Symphony and the Pittsburgh, it's like he knows how to do that. And same thing with chamber music, where you like state strong opinions coming out of your bell, and that's actually how you get called back.
The musical attitude, not the personal attitude.
Yes. Have you guys thought about rearranging? Like, why do you have the horns over there? No, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm quite confident that Christopher did not do that.
I like that he put that chamber group together too, based on an initial contact with a guy who was walking past his place. He's like, "Hey, you."
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
You figure he had a case and a tuxedo. He must be legit.
And then in the bonus episode, he talked about Murray Crew, who he considers a mentor. Remembered him, and then also this is worth the price of admission to Patreon all by itself. He talks about the time that he failed to seduce his girlfriend by playing a bass trombone solo. That was worth it all by itself. So yeah, good stuff. speaking of good stuff, I wanted to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model Euphonium mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you would like to get me a birthday present, whoever you are, I don't know why you would, please email Michael Parker. It would make me very happy if you emailed Michael Parker and if you asked him when he is going to come out with a line of Ophiclide mouthpieces. I think that would be
that's a good idea.
That would make me very, very happy. Or specifically mouthpieces for non-compensating euphonium. Either one.
That's good.
Maybe we'll get two.
I was thinking, like, what about cupcake tins in the shape of mouthpieces in honor of your birthday?
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. All right. So without further ado, let us get to the conversation that we had with international bass trombone superstar Christopher Davis.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more content by the Brass Junkies, just click on the like and subscribe button. You'll have an opportunity to see some of the greatest brass players in the world, and Andrew and me.
And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined by a bass trombonist who has seemingly played with half of all professional orchestras in the world. His name is Christopher Davis. Christopher, how are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
That sounded so heartfelt.
No. Oh man, I am. I'm very happy. You know. Should I jump up and down and do jumping jacks? You know.
Yeah, we have an unofficial policy that we don't let the actual interview start until the interviewee shows enthusiasm. Yeah, it just
that's right. It's just to demonstrate.
Okay. You know, I have I'm usually pretty even keel.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll be really excited, and people will say, Are you excited about this? Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It probably drives my wife crazy.
It looks like I'm waiting for the bus, but I'm very excited, honey. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I mean the same thing with as far as being nervous. I can be super nervous and just have like a deadpan face.
Well, that's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Have you always been that way?
I've always been that way. Yes. Everything
That's
pretty internal.
good. That's probably pretty useful, yeah.
It is useful.
I mean, the internal part could come back to bite you down the road.
Yeah.
Health-wise, but, you know, I'm a man of advanced age, so I think about these things.
Oh, man, you don't look a day over 20.
Oh, yeah, okay. This fall, I'll celebrate the 35th anniversary of my 20th birthday, so that'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Send me your address, and I will send you your AARP card, you know?
Oh, I got it. Listen, hold on. I got it right here. Careful what you wish for. It's here. Yeah. Oh, that's just
One of my.
No, here it is.
Well, he's. There we go. There it is.
He is an official member.
Heck yeah.
One of my
I got
fondest.
the tote bag and everything.
Wow.
Now, you're old enough to get the AARP tote bag, but you know you're really old if you actually start using it. If you're like walking
yes.
around town.
We use it every
Yes.
time. Every time we go to the lake, we fill it up with stuff and take. It's a beautiful tote bag.
You fill it up with the medicine you have to take.
Yeah, it's the pills, and then this. I gotta print out the list of what what order to take them in.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. One of my
man.
fondest memories of Sam Palafian, my dear departed mentor, was that I had an occasion that I needed an F-tuba. I didn't own one at the time. And long story short, I had an emergency. He called me and he was like, I'm going to mail you an F-tuba in I'll put it in the mail tomorrow. It'll get there in 3 days. Like, great, amazing. So I get the thing. It was a prototype. It was this amazing Yamaha prototype. and it was wonderful. However, I'm playing it like the third day I look, and I saw that there was a card that was jammed between, like, there's something that was buzzing, obviously, and I looked, and the card was Sam Palafian's AARP card, which was like,
oh wow,
it's like, and
that's a great connection,
right? Yeah, and I texted him. I was like, man, when I was younger, like, you like played with Pink Floyd, as like, played with Lionel, toured with Lionel Hampton, like. You were like a rock and jazz god, and now you're like sending me tubas that have AARP cards like shoved into them. Like, what happened? And we haven't slapped an explicit tag on this episode yet, so I won't say the words that he texted back to me. But they were okay. They were a little spicy. So yeah, that was.
Do you remember So let's stay with this for one more quick story, which was Sam got a new iPhone, and he couldn't get it to. He was like trying to push the buttons and he couldn't get anything to happen on the phone. And he was like, am I dead? Maybe I'm dead. Like, because the phone wouldn't register his finger. And one of his students took the phone and took the protective film off of it and handed it back to him.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
Thank God, I thought I was dead.
I'm only 40 and that's happened to me before,
Yeah, it's just starting for you, man. I mean, I'm 46. I'm not like that much older than you, but yeah, I can, if I exercise in some new way or something, like at this point, it's like, yes, you're sore, but there are occasionally you're like, wait a minute, I have a muscle in my neck that's sore that I didn't know was there. Like, it had never been drawn to my attention before that existed, and now it's hurt for 3 days. So I just don't exercise.
Wait till you wake up having hurt yourself somehow in the middle of the night.
It was a ghost.
What? It was a ghost. At some point, we should interview Christopher.
Yes, I know.
I'm the king of shooting the shit.
Yes.
I can do this for hours. I mean, I might as well go into the refrigerator.
Right place.
And get a beer. It's already 5 o'clock here.
Yeah. Speaking of
Nothing's
here,
stopping you.
Where is here? Where do you now live?
Right now, I live in Bern, Switzerland, the capital of Switzerland. Everybody thinks that it's Zurich, but it's Bern. Quaint little city. Beautiful sights everywhere, surrounded by gorgeous mountains. So that's where I am right now. And I commute back and forth between Bern and Chicago to fulfill my teaching obligations at Northwestern.
That's a commute. Yeah.
It's not that bad, believe it or not. I have my system in place since I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and it just takes a little bit of planning and making sure that your calendar is up to date so you don't miss any flights, and you plan your teaching accordingly. Well, I plan my teaching accordingly,
Right.
So how far in advance are you planning your travel then?
I usually plan 3 to 4 months in advance.
And just book everything and have it all set?
Yeah. And
like a semester at a time kind of thing?
Every quarter. We're on the trimester
Oh,
system.
You're on quarters. I forgot.
Yeah, so I book about 3 or 4 months at a time, and then I schedule all of my trombone ensemble rehearsals. I schedule pretty much all of my lessons, and if there are any performance opportunities that may arise in the time that I'm in the States, I usually take them.
Mm-hmm. And then, so how long when you come to what's the division of time? So you'll come spend a week or two and then go back for a week or two, or how's that work?
It usually works out to about 10 days per month I'm there. And a lot.
So do you end up seeing the? Sounds like it. And so you guys still have an apartment? You and your wife still have a place or do you just, where do you crash in?
Well,
the US?
my first year, we still had an apartment in Chicago, but it became not efficient, and we got rid of the apartment, and now I just stay with my sister, who lives a little bit south of the city, who has a nice sized house and a nice warm bed for me to sleep in. So I just
that's pretty good.
Crash there.
You have a good sister. That works out pretty well.
You know, I'm blessed in that my family is really close. All of us are, my brothers and sisters are very tight. So anytime they can look out for me or I can look out for them, they always do. So it was almost a no-brainer
cool.
for them.
How many
Almost
in your generation?
Oh my God, I'm the youngest of 7.
Wow.
All musical? Anybody else musical?
No, my older brother who lives in Arizona, he was a trumpet player, but he decided after high school to quit. He was much more talented than I am, you know, but he just decided to go another way. He's also extremely gifted with words, and he wound up writing poetry and things like that. And now he, as a side job, he does something with like mortgages or something like that in Arizona, and he like raps on the side, and he makes great music. His name
Have
is
you guys collaborated?
We have not collaborated, and we talk about this all the time. He said to me a few days ago, "Bro, why haven't we ever done anything together?" Like, even when he played trumpet and I was starting off on trombone, we never practiced together. It was always very separate. You know, we were both into our own things at that time.
Wow.
But it would be.
You got to do that. You got to.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Bass trombone and rap and like the brothers angle, like it'd be fascinating.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about his music is that it's a reflection of the things that he's been through in his life. It's not hardcore gangster rap or anything like that. It has some hard elements to it because of how we grew up in our upbringing and our experiences. But at the same time, it's not the content of it is pretty good. So it's very good. You know.
Is your family from Chicago originally? Is that where you grew up?
No, my dad's side of the family is from Chicago. My mom's side of the family is from Mobile, Alabama.
Oh, gotcha.
So I'm a little Southern boy at heart.
Well, so how did you end up being the fantastic musician you are then?
Well, funny thing is, artists are on both sides of the family. I found out maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I'm actually related to Richard Davis, the famous jazz bassist who played with Miles Davis and Eric Dolphy and all of these other people. So we're actually related on my father's side of the family. So art and music have always been a part of the family. My cousin, Marcia, was a ballet dancer. So arts and music have always been a part of it, but it's just something that growing up that, you know, I gravitated towards it. And I had a slew of amazing private teachers and band directors that really took whatever talent I had and said, hey, you should do this. And so that's the way I went.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. We've done this from time to time, and I'm going to pause to remind people that if there's a teacher in your life that has meant something to you and put you on a road, email them, text them, tell them, let them know what a difference they made in your life. They're changing lives. And so if you're one of those teachers, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'll give a quick shout out to those teachers. One of them passed away a few years ago. My first private lesson teacher, his name is Joe Stegman. He played in a Florida orchestra before it went under, and he freelanced in Chicago and Boston and everywhere. That was a tough man. He would kick me out of lessons if I came unprepared. A big 6'5", 280 or 90 pound guy, really intimidating guy with a name like Stegman. So he's probably German, of German descent. So really strong cheekbone or chin line. He was amazing. Really good on basics and really taught us how to play music in that time. And then I had my first band director that introduced me to trombone was a guy named John Weber, who is still living. He's about 84, 85 right now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And he basically put a trombone in my hand, and he said from the moment that I touched it, he knew that I was going to be a performer. He just knew. And he's the one who was responsible for taking me to Chicago Symphony concerts, to hear Grant Park, to hear, Ravinia Festival Orchestra, everything. Took me to the tuba euphonium conference at Northwestern when I was a wee lad. I think that might have been during your time there, right, Andrew?
It was, yeah. That was in 95. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh. So 95, I had to been maybe in 7th or 8th grade or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, he took me to all of these things and exposed me to all different types of music, jazz, classical, whatever it may be. He exposed me to all of it. And then lastly, in the early stages of my life, it was a guy named Phil Cruz, my high school band director. Fantastic percussionist and drummer, jazz drummer as well. And that guy was just a hard work, nose to the grindstone, really musical kind of guy. You wouldn't expect the percussionist to be so musical, but he's super musical, but he really knew how to bring the band together. And just as a disclaimer, as I became older in my life, I realized that the percussionists, if I ever played for them, were always the most musical cats that I've ever played for. They always had fantastic ears.
Nice recovery.
So that was just, no, I mean, it's the truth. It's the truth. I'm friends with a lot of percussionists. They have great ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he really taught me a lot about leadership and how to get people to play together, how to balance a band, It's great.
Wow. How would you say those teachers, either directly or indirectly, have impacted how you teach or how you approach students and ensembles?
100%. 100%. I've been really blessed that all of my teachers that I've really ever had were also professional musicians at one point. For example, John Weber played in a West Point band with like I forgot who he played with. The other tuba player before Alan Baer in the New York Phil.
Warren Deck.
Warren Deck.
Yeah.
And a couple of other big heavy hitters in the orchestra world in his time period. So that was great. And Phil Cruz was drumming around St. Louis and in Chicago when he first came in, and Joe Stegman. So I had all of these positive professional teachers, professional musicians that happened to be great teachers in my life. So I think it has a huge effect on how I teach the students that I come in contact with.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Do you ever hear things coming out of your mouth that you go, "Oh man, that was straight from Mr. So-and-so"?
Oh,
I find myself
all the time
repeating, like, "Oh, good gravy."
Sometimes it makes you feel a little weird when you say something exactly like your teacher, because you wonder if it's actually really coming from you. But it really is coming from you, because it's really something that's ingrained inside of you, and that you have come to believe. And we all know when you believe something so much and so, you believe it so much, it becomes you become that. And that's what the teaching is for me. It's like I become these things, these little mantras that my teachers have given to me over the years.
Yeah, they almost become like it's like a shorthand, like they become these little pearls because they're the most efficient way to deliver that message in the moment. And so you can just sort of like hit number 44, and that's the thing that you need to help with this student in that moment. Not that it's like generic, but that this is the perfect recipe for this solution.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So I want to ask you how you're balancing a career on both sides of the Atlantic in a second. But first, I want to let you know that the Mary Papper School of Music at Duquesne University is a longtime sponsor of the Brass Junkies, and we are greatly appreciative of their support of the show. They were one of our first supporters, and we are very thankful that they continue to be so. So if you're interested in finding out, and you should be, finding out all the ways you can be involved with brass playing at Duquesne University at the Mary Papper School in beautiful and sunny Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of which it is both of those things today. It's about 70 degrees and sunny.
In a row.
This is that day.
We all know that Pittsburgh is a place that can have a huge Eeyore cloud over it. I lived there for 2 years, so I know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is this one sunny day of the year. So go click on the link in the show notes to go find out all the ways you can participate in music at Duquesne University. And very, very special thanks to Jim, Rise of Bubble Butt Nova, for making that possible.
The man, the myth, and the legend.
We're releasing this later this summer, but it was as we sit here recording this, it was just his birthday a couple of days ago. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was indeed his birthday. I like, Lance, in that read how you said that everyone should be interested in attending Duquesne right now. And I was thinking, like, I could start a master's for a third time. I could, I'm proud of the fact that I've dropped out of 2 master's degrees, but a third would be even more impressive, right? So maybe I'll enroll in a class. Yeah, there we go.
Third time is the charm. Maybe you'll get it.
Maybe. Yeah. I like to say that I pursued my master's degree at Arizona State. I just wasn't pursuing it fast enough because it got away from me. So, yeah. But, yeah.
Well, we could talk about your time in Pittsburgh if you want, or I'm also interested to know, like, how are you balancing your career with living part of the time in Europe and part of the time in the States? So how do you decide what gigs to take? Like, how much work are you doing in Switzerland? Like, how does that all work?
Well, I'm still receiving a lot of calls to play in the States, which is great. People still try me, and obviously, if I'm available, I do it. But here, it's a little bit different. It's almost like, as far as connections are concerned, I'm pretty much beginning from scratch. And we moved over right before the pandemic, so I couldn't make a lot of contacts because obviously everything was shut down.
Sure.
But now things are starting to open up a little bit more. And I've made a few connections here in Switzerland and abroad, and lo and behold, things are happening. Maybe a couple of months ago, I played with the Swedish Radio Symphony Orchestra, great program with Tchaikovsky, and Bizet. And just I did like a small tour with a group called the Swiss Orchestra. They tour throughout Switzerland and they play, Swiss classical music that may not be played, and also classics as well, like Brahms 3. And we played this piece by a contemporary of Wagner. Oh, it slipped in my mind. How can it slip my mind? And it was basically a bass trombone concerto.
I have found that anything can be a bass trombone concerto in the wrong hands.
Well, I try to aim on I try to be a sensitive musician.
No, you very much are.
It was by Eschmann.
There you go.
Eschmann is the name of the composer. And apparently he and Wagner were pretty good friends, and they used to exchange ideas with each other, so much that Wagner took some of the material that Eschmann wrote and put it in, I think, the Meistersinger or something like that. So even back then, sampling was a thing.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
See, it took many decades later. It took hip hop artists being smart enough to use that as marketing, right? Because you get 4 people on a track, and then you put all their names on it, and then all those fan bases come. They weren't as smart as the hip hop people to come in terms of the business side of things.
Yeah, man, I'm sure Eschmann wants his royalties from all of the Meistersingers that that have been played. Pay up, pay up.
So I was talking before. I joked about how Christopher has seemingly played with half of the orchestras in the world, but you've played with Cincinnati, with Chicago, with Cleveland, with Colorado, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. I mean, like the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Now you are you're a monster player, like you just said, very sensitive. You're an incredible musician. You're also super easy to get along with. So I'm like, those are two boxes that like those tend to lead to success. But there are people who play well who don't end up playing with that many orchestras. So like, what do you think that what has been the secret to you having such a wide range of success in the orchestral side of things?
Well, there are two things that I really want to really accent or really talk about. First is, well, three things. First is having the ability to listen. I think that's the biggest thing. And secondly, the ability to adjust on the fly. I think that's the biggest thing is really being able to understand that Detroit plays at 441 and it's a very clean, crisp attack, you know, and that orchestra is very, very, very clear. Or going to Cleveland where things are a lot rounder and beautiful, and almost you don't really have to articulate very hardly at all to be heard, you know, because that's just the way the ensemble plays. It's very warm. And being able to adjust and hear that, and Cleveland stays at 440. They don't move. You know, that's the only orchestra that I know that is going to stay right at 440. It's not going to go higher. And it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Michael Sachs is he's not capable of adjusting, so everybody just has to stay with him.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just a warmth in the sound. You know,
I'm just busting his balls.
I'm sure he's going to be smiling, laughing at you. But yeah.
He's on a ham radio right now. He's not listening to that.
Yeah, so those two things, being able to adjust on the fly. I always say, you know, my mantra is when I step into an orchestra, the first time you play it, you might not be exactly on pitch or with the ensemble, or you might not be at the exact same note length. You know, you might not be quite gelling the first time through, but the second time around, you have to pretty much be there, you know, and I think it's a respect thing. And, you know, just trying to be prepared and be flexible. And then lastly, it's going to sound a little cocky, a little arrogant, but when I step into those situations, I think that I need to play that chair as it is my chair for that week.
That's great.
Because what I find is, I've been in a lot of orchestras and I hear them talk about subs all the time, you know, and if a sub comes in and plays tentative, it makes everybody else's job harder.
Yes.
So mentally, I have to act like I'm in a Cleveland orchestra that week. This is my chair. I'm not going to try to play that chair like Tom Klaber did. You know, when I play in Detroit, I'm not going to try to play that chair like Randy played it. Mm-hmm. Or anywhere that I go, I'm going to play the chair like it's mine. And I'm going to try to play with a lot of assertiveness, but still listening and still, you know, but I want to be able to bring what I have to the table, you know, in that orchestra. And I think that's really been
great. I've just never heard that put that way. I mean, I've heard people sort of get at that, but to make it as clear and concise as that is awesome. And it's not cocky. It's you're playing with confidence. And I have this opinion, and I'm open to other opinions. So I'm going to bring mine, and then let's come together and figure out what we're going to do from there. It's exactly what you want in a partner, a musical partner,
right,
or otherwise.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more so like chamber music, you know. I'll tell you, like I just started a group called the IPA, go figure, International Posauna Alliance, and it's and they're 5 cats right now. It's only 5. It's 5 people from all over the world, and we just threw it all together, And we played our first concert in April, and it went really well, but that idea of just like throwing these things together from people with people from everywhere and then making it stick and making it like sound like something is actually, part of why I think I've been able to navigate playing with so many different orchestras. Some orchestras are more stressful to play in than others, obviously, but I also like a lot of orchestras like Pittsburgh and Minnesota, where it's a huge job, but the colleagues are so laid back and chill, but they still come to play every day.
Yeah.
Like it's a really special thing when you step into a situation like that and they just want you to do your thing.
Yeah. Well, they hired you
How's
for a
the
reason.
IP? Well, yeah.
I mean, they hired you to be you. I mean, which I think is important. And boy, I am absolutely stealing that. I might give you credit, but I probably won't. About just treating it like it's your chair for the week. That's all 3 of us will agree with this, which is it is easier to play with music. Well, Lance is not going to agree just because he's old and ornery, but it is easy. It is easier to play with musicians who are playing with an opinion than it is to play with musicians who are just trying to be nonstop chameleons. And that doesn't mean that you try to lead the brass section from the tuba sub seat when you're like in any orchestra ever. Mm-hmm. Like you're still getting all of your data from the bass trombone, the principal trombone, the principal trumpet. But like when you just are stating like opinions, then that's when randomly the like second horn player will come over and be like, you sound really good, when it's not even like tuba heavy music, and then you just say thank you so much because it's easy to play with. Yeah, it's important.
It's happened to me countless numbers of times, like countless times. People in a brass section will come up. I've had string players come up. Yeah. Like one of my favorite compliments I ever received was from a bass player in a Minnesota orchestra. And we were playing like, it might have been Shostakovich 12 or 10. It was a Shostakovich, I know for sure. And he comes up to me when I'm warming up and he says, man, but you over there, the low brass section sounds like the old Chicago brass section. Mm. And I thought that was for me, being a Chicagoan, that was a huge compliment, Sure. And so, of course, the shoulders lay back a little bit, the chest pokes out a little bit, and you go into work and you want to deliver, you want to play well. But adding on to what you said, Andrew, is that I always tell myself this, and I tell my students this. I said, make a statement, don't ask a question with your plan. I said, 9 times out of 10, if you make a strong statement, musical statement to me, I probably won't mess with you too much unless it's all way off in left field. But if you come in and you put a question mark on something that you're playing, I'm all over you.
Amen.
I'm going to get in you,
Amen. I can ask questions. I can just do that myself in the practice room. I don't need to involve a second person. Yeah,
this is true.
Yep, opinions, exclamation points, not question marks. Yeah, that's.
I found like I have some awesome students at Carnegie Mellon, and actually a couple of percussionists had me listen. They were preparing for an audition with some orchestra, I don't remember what it was, and they were bringing in a variety of people to just, because they knew that there'd be maybe a percussionist on the committee. So I was just sort of throwing my feedback at them, and they were like, boy, I don't know, like one of them had an opportunity to sub with Pittsburgh, and like I just feel like I'm so overwhelmed and I don't know what to do, and I just like, you're not, if you are in the chair, a whole bunch of people had to agree that you deserved to be there. It's like you don't just accidentally show up as a sub on Tuesday, like, oh, hi, I guess you're here today. So they see or hear something in you or know something about you or expect something from you. And if you play with one foot on the brake and one on the accelerator, you're not you're actually doing a disservice to the people who vouched for you to get you there in the first place too. Like, this person is worth being on stage with us at this time, so you owe it to them as well to bring it. Man,
Yeah,
get out of my
you gotta
yard.
bring it.
Hey, Lance. Speaking of Pittsburgh, how about Houchin Horns? You got anything to say about them by any chance?
No, nope.
Wow.
Oh well,
Subtle shade right now.
except
Subtle shade.
now that I think about it, I would say.
See, he's old. He forgot.
I forgot. I would say that they do aim to spread the joy of music through providing the highest level of product, services, and resources to the brass playing community. Houchin Horns provides free domestic shipping on all new items, excluding sheet music, and free domestic returns on new instruments and mouthpieces when you order online at houchinhorns.com. Guess what? They stock the finest makes of brass instruments, including Bach, Conn-Selmer, Eastman and Shires, Engelmann, Schmidt, Paxman, Tide, and Yamaha, among many others. They do repairs and customizations in-house. They have a unique Veras brand product designed specifically by the craftsmen and pro musicians of Houchin Horns. What else should you know? You should know, here's what you should know. Here's a thing. You can browse the extensive news and resources page on houchinhorns.com for great pedagogical info, articles, interviews, videos, and events. And if you enter the promo code Junkies at online checkout, you'll receive 10% off your purchases from houchinhorns.com. Some limitations apply. Apply.
I do want to say that Lance is old enough that he can't necessarily, his memory can't be trusted. Sometimes he inadvertently makes stuff up. I have verified everything that he just said is true, so you can you can trust him.
All right, so he's not senile yet.
Well, I didn't say that. But if that's what you heard, that's fine.
What time's the podcast?
Yeah. All right, we're about to hit record, Christopher. This was the pre-interview.
Good.
Yeah.
All right,
No.
let's do it.
Tell us about this group IPA.
Well, I like to start things. I've always dreamt of, having a chamber music career somehow. And during the pandemic, there wasn't much going on for me here in Switzerland. And, I would get together and play trombone duets and trios and quartets with people. And I just, one night, while drinking an IPA, I was texting with Justin Clark, the bass trombonist in the Bern Symphony Orchestra, who also is American, who went to Juilliard. And we were just joking around, and I said, man, we should start a trombone group, and he's like, man, we should call it the IPA. And I was like, International Posaune Alliance. And that's how it kind of came about. Over a WhatsApp message. So I took it upon myself to reach out to some people who have concert series, and came across this concert series in Basel called the Rhine Classics. And it's basically a non-for-profit that during the pandemic started up to help aid, they put on online concerts to help aid freelance musicians. So obviously, I fit the criteria. I don't have a job here. I'm kind of freelance. So I reached out to the founder, and he gave us a date. It was canceled 3 times during the pandemic, and then it finally happened in April. So that's pretty much how it came about.
Cool. Who else is in the group?
So it's Justin Clark, the bass trombonist of Bern Symphony Orchestra. And it's a guy that I met walking down the street in Bern. His name is David Rufer, and he's a fantastic musician. I just kept seeing this guy, but I had never had a chance to reach out and talk to him, because he's always been far away, or I've had my daughter and I can't get to him. But he walked past one day, and I said, hey, he was close enough. I said, hey, sprechen Sie English? And he's like, yeah. So I went over and met him, and he got into the IPA that way. Completely trombone random. I didn't know how he played. I just know that he was always coming from somewhere with a tux in his hand. So I figured this guy's probably pretty good. you know, and he was fantastic musician. David Roofer.
Turns out he was a waiter, but
Yeah, he has this amazing brass band group called Unglaublich, and they play a lot of they're kind of like you know, in the brass band tradition, a lot of pop music arrangements for brass band and drum set. So he's in that group, and he's a fantastic flexible musician. And I reached out to the practicant of the Bern Symphony Orchestra. He's from Portugal. His name is João Teixeira. He studies in Zurich. And then lastly, I asked Ian Bousfield for a recommendation of one of his students. And he gave me another guy. His name is João Bastos, also from Portugal. And fantastic players, both of them. Fantastic. So in a way, I kind of caught lightning in a bottle with the group, you know, and it's the right kind of attitudes that everybody just kind of plays together, and it works out great.
what'd you do for repertoire? I mean, did you have some things in mind? Are you arranging things? You're commissioning things? Like,
No, not
seems pretty new still.
It's still pretty new right now. We just did things like the chaconne for 5-part, the Bach chaconne, which is actually on the wall right there. I am married to a violinist, but it's amazing that it takes 5 trombonists to do what just one violinist can do. That's like how many trombonists does it take to play the chaconne? Probably to play the whole thing, probably about 10. Only one violinist can do it. Like if you want to play all of the variations correctly, you probably need 10.
10
we did it
with 3 intermissions.
Yeah, pretty much. And we did, we broke the group down. We did "Ah Let Me Weep" from the Handel. Mm-hmm. We did the Canzona, the Scheit. We did, Bruckner Etude, of course. We have to throw that in there. And then we did a piece commissioned by Tim Higgins. Well, that Tim Higgins wrote his Bagatelles, amongst other things. So that's what we're doing right now. I would love to expand the ensemble to maybe get it to 8, and then the opportunity and the field is really open to the repertoire that we can play.
That's awesome.
You could add Jim Nova, but then he'll insist that you only play Star Wars music. So that's
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I love that stuff.
Oh, me too.
It's amazing. It's amazing what that guy can do.
It is truly incredible. In fact, if you're new here and you're here because Christopher's here, you haven't heard us talk about it. Check out Jim Nova's Star Wars stuff. Just Google Jim Nova Star Wars, and it's shocking. The playing, the arrangements, all of it. It's world class.
I've actually been at his house when he's working on the overdub, and it's pretty amazing. Jim and I are really close friends because he started his Pittsburgh job when I started my fellowship with Pittsburgh. So we were pretty close in age. Not close in age, not pretty close, but we were close enough in age at the time that we hung out a lot. I played for him a lot, played with him a lot, and since that time we've been very, very close. He's kind of like my brother because my brother's his birthday is on June 1st, I think, and my brother's is on the 2nd or something like that. It's very close. So we really hit it off in a brotherly kind of fashion. It's great.
I'm reminded randomly of a few years ago when Jim posted on April Fool's Day, when he posted a photo of like his like sports car that was completely like totaled, and about how he had and it was all, but it was convincing enough because he drives too fast and he loves cars, and there was like all sorts.
It was Easter too.
It was Easter.
I was on
that is correct
Easter gig with Craig Knox, and so we were like, "What is happening?" It was like super freaked out.
And there was lots of famous trombone players like, "Oh, I'm glad you're okay." And then he's like, "Actually, this is April Fool's," and I think some people wanted to actually kill him. So that was.
Oh man, yeah.
He pulled it off.
He's good for it.
Yeah.
But that car that Jim has, it looks like a regular BMW, but it's not a regular BMW. There's something hiding underneath that hood.
That's everything you need to know about Jim in general.
Yeah, pretty much. I love that guy. You know, I love him. Like, I love him. But yeah.
We need to come up with a clip of, because every time that Lance reads the Duquesne ad, he gives Jim a new middle name. So we have to we should come up with a compilation. There's been a lot of them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been
Bubble Butt is the
over
best
100,
one.
yeah.
That's every
Bubble
once
Butt.
in a while I'll get like, texts from somebody who's like on a gig with him. It's like I get a photo. It's like Bubble Butt. Yeah, which Hakeem messaged me like last month with a shot of Jim, and it just said Bubble Butt in all caps. So which was funny.
Of course, Hakeem would do that.
Yeah, of course.
Shout out to Hakeem Bilal.
Yeah. Where I responded to him, I was like, that's really not very professional. You're on. It looks like you're on a gig. You need to be, you need to treat this like Christopher Davis would, where you just like, you own the seat for the week, and you just need to be more No, actually, I was like, LMFAO is I think what I responded with.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
So this gets us to the practicing corner presented by Hitz Academy Practice Coaching. Do you want to get more done in less time in the practice room? Like compound interest in a bank account, making yourself even just 10% more efficient in the practice room will make you a better practicer forever, and those results will continue to compound for literally the rest of your career. Let Practice Coaching from Hitz Academy help you implement systems that will improve every aspect of your practicing routine, do better at auditions, and unlock your true potential as a musician. You can learn more at practiccoach.link/coaching, which is in the show notes, as are all links that we mentioned during the episode. So do you have a practicing tip for us, Christopher?
Do I have a practicing tip? Eliminate distractions. I can only speak on this because it's prevalent in my life, because I'm also a father, a husband, professor, musician, all of these things. So it's very important for me to compartmentalize and be efficient with my time. For example, I just pretty much had an hour and 40 minutes before this interview to practice, because my wife had to practice, and I had to take care of the baby. So for me, recently I've been really, well, actually all the time, I really try to be efficient with my time, and I've been using the Pomodoro technique in a way, that kind of system where, because I don't have a lot of time, I shut everything off. I have my goal in mind of what I need to do in my practice session, and then I go at it intensely for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then in a way, I kind of like reward myself with like, oh, maybe I'll look at Facebook or something like that. Or maybe I'll go read a book, for 10, 15 minutes. That's really been helpful for me, because nowadays with technology, it's so easy to just be on Facebook and be practicing, or be on Twitter, or what's that, Instagram, or whatever else they have out here. So, and as you get older, you have less time. It's just the way it goes. So you have to be judicious with how you divide it up. And this technique has actually really helped me a lot to get things done. And secondly, trying to be more patient in my practice. That's been the hardest thing. We can get into a trance, per se, of just repeating an exercise over and over. And not really having a specific goal in mind about how you want to sound, what you're trying to get out of the exercise. And then it just becomes, weightlifting, mindless weightlifting. And if you're not, if I'm not goal specific in what I'm doing, it winds up becoming a lot like that. And then you don't really accomplish anything. You just get stronger, per se, and it's more than just that. It's more about the concept.
Wow, that's powerful, and I like the weightlifting analogy as well. I have gotten better personally at identifying when I'm practicing and I'm not like fully mentally there, and at this point, sometimes I just try to focus more, but other times I just put the horn down and I just walk away and come back 5 minutes later or 5 hours later or tomorrow. It depends obviously on what I have to prepare and how much time I have, etc. But yeah, I try not to just go through the motions, because also that's when the clock for me goes so slowly that it's like unbelievable. Oh, yeah. Oh, so bad.
Yeah, and for me, I can get really tunnel vision. And it's the opposite for me. I can do an exercise and then I'll keep doing exercises and I'll just stay in exercise mode and then not necessarily get out of that. So I've been really diligent with taking space in my repetitions. Most recently, I've been recording a repetition, like play it once and record it. All right. And then restart again, being a little bit more insistent of what I want out of my sound, what I want out of my attack, what I want out of my follow through. Like all of these things are kind of like the process that I'm going through, but mainly it's more sound based than anything. What do I want it to sound like? And not being too quick to jump back in to try to make it sound better when it sounds like poo sometimes,
I like it. I hadn't heard that put quite like that either. Just like the owning the chair for the week. That's funny.
It got real serious for a second, and then I just throw in that poo, and then it just makes everything better.
We had been on topic for at least 8 minutes, which our listeners were going to get confused. They probably already stopped listening. Yeah,
that's our Pomodoro.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
Time for a fart joke.
Last question before although we are going to have Christopher stick around for the bonus episode, but I just wanted to hear briefly about what it's like to teach at Northwestern, since it's your alma mater. Like what is that? What was it like when you got the call to be asked to teach there?
Well, first and foremost, it's a shock, because that place Northwestern has been a part of my life since I was maybe 16 or 17. Mm-hmm. I started off by going to Nishmi there back in 1995, 96, I think I went to Nishmi. And so obviously I went away to Illinois Wesleyan for undergrad because I was so afraid to audition there. And I didn't think I was smart enough, and I wound up going to Illinois Wesleyan, which is a comparable school with grades, which that's a whole nother story. But everything worked out for the best. And during that time, I will always come to Northwestern because my friend Steve Menard, who teaches at North Texas now, was my friend in Nishmi. So I would come up, and that's how I met Tim Higgins, and we played trios, and
wow,
we had a good time.
Boy, that's a trio right there. My goodness.
When I came to campus, we had a very good time, some funny times. And and so it's always been a part of my life. And obviously I applied there for grad school, and to get that call, was surreal, and it was extremely special. At first I didn't think it was, it was too good to be true.
Right.
And and Michael really believed in me and thought that I had the leadership capabilities to be able to handle such a tough job, because as you know, the students at Northwestern are extremely talented, sometimes headstrong, very smart. So you have to kind of be stern in a way in what you're delivering to them.
Yep.
And it was a dream come true. And I still pinch myself every time I walk into that building, because it's such a special place for me. And there's so much talent that goes around that place. It's amazing, from top to bottom. Every department, has great players in it. And it was a little intimidating at first. I'm not going to lie to you, to be on a team with Higgins, who's actually my best friend. Like we're really tight with Higgins and Randy and Doug and McKay. It's like, holy crap,
It's a murderer's row there of
and what's amazing is that everybody is an amazing player, but they're even better people.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to find my confidence in that and in that space, and also to figure out what I was going to bring to the team, because we teach as a team together. And once I figured that out in maybe 2 or 3 years, and it's been pretty much uphill since then. So it's been great.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Well, I'm happy for you. Yeah, you've certainly earned your way there. But I can only imagine what it was like to get that call, and then they've issued you a key card that opens the building, and you don't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars a year for it. That's that's good. That's good.
It was great. It was fantastic. It was super amazing, and that place is very special to me. And when I go into work, I go in and I always want to put my best foot forward, not because it's I'm afraid, but more so because I hold it with some type of reverence,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, try not to sound like poo, as you would
try
say.
not to teach like poo.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing, though. I mean, you're not there on accident.
Right.
It's the same as you sitting in the orchestra.
Correct.
You got to bring that same kind of, this is my gig.
You have to act like you belong.
Yeah, because someone else has already decided that. Somebody else has already decided that you belong, and so you just have to agree with them. Yeah, it can feel on a human level like you're the one leading the charge, like, hey, everybody, I belong. It's like, well, no, someone's already determined this. You just need to agree and act the part, and that's a lot easier than like feeling like you're walking into the room to convince everybody. So,
No, I don't really try to do that. It's not my vibe.
Yeah.
What you see is what you're going to get. Or not.
Well, on that note, this has been wonderful. I'm glad that we could make this work. Time zone wise and everything. We are going to have Christopher stick around for a bonus episode, which we do with every single guest. You can listen to, you get instant access to all of them by becoming a Patreon patron of the show. Thank you to everybody who has already done that. There's a lot of ongoing expenses here that those people will help make more interviews with people like Christopher possible. So thank you to everybody who has done that. You can go to patreon.com/thebrass junkies. And we're going to have Christopher hang out for a few more minutes for that. And Lance, thank you so much for being so prepared, for being professional. This is once in a row that you've had a pretty good attitude. So hopefully we can build on this moving forward. No,
that was a one and done.
Oh wow.
The rest will be poo.
Oh wow.
I started something. Look what I started.
Poo.
Look what I started.
Okay, here's what I will close with, was that this was a number of years ago now, because I think my son was maybe 2 or 2.5 when we interviewed Brian Hecht. And for whatever reason, my son was saying poop truck. Like he just, I don't know. He said poop truck. Like he said it 12 times one day. And I think I laughed at one of them, and then he saw that there was the glimmer. And then he was like, he's like me, he'll go to that well. And so I mentioned that in the interview with Brian, and then one of the three of us said poop truck 15, 20 times during that hour long interview. So that's the, so Christopher is the poo interview, and Brian was the poop truck interview. So there's
that's perfect, man, because Brian, that's my boy too.
There you go. So if you enjoyed the poo talk, then you can go and enjoy some poop truck talk with Brian. So all
awesome.
Right, thank you, Christopher. This has been wonderful, and that is going to do it for this episode of the Brass Junkies. You've been listening to the Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.